Evelyn Ashbourne stood behind the yew trees in a white mourning dress, while the vicar lowered his voice over her grave, and Doctor Nathaniel Vale, standing among the black coats, was the only man in Yorkshire who knew the woman being buried was not Evelyn Ashbourne. Not mistaken. Not symbolic. False. The rain had been falling since dawn over Ravenshade churchyard, fine and cold, the sort of rain that did not strike the skin so much as settle into it. It darkened the shoulders of every gentleman present, turned the hems of the ladies' black dresses heavy with mud, and made the open grave look deeper than it was. Lady Evelyn Ashbourne, widow of the late Sir Malcolm Ashbourne, had died at 29 according to the notices sent across 3 counties. A wasting fever, they said. A delicate constitution, they said. A tragic end to a troubled marriage, said the women who had never forgiven her for being beautiful, quiet, and richer than they were. Nathaniel Vale heard all of it from the 4th row of mourners, his gloved hands folded over the silver head of his walking stick, his expression arranged into the solemn vacancy expected of a village physician. He had signed death certificates before. He had stood at gravesides before. He knew the weight of grief when it was real. This was not grief. This was theater. The vicar recited, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. A woman near the front gave a controlled little sob. Evelyn's brother-in-law, Mr. Jasper Ashbourne, bowed his head with such perfect sorrow that Nathaniel nearly admired the craft of it. Nearly. Jasper wore his mourning like a tailored coat. Expensive, exact, and chosen for effect. Beside him stood Mrs. Helena Stroud, Evelyn's aunt by marriage, a woman with a narrow face, a narrow fortune, and a talent for making every room feel as if someone had just been found guilty in it. Nathaniel looked past them. Beyond the church wall, beyond the leaning stones and the wet branches of the yews, a white figure stood half hidden where no mourner should have been. Evelyn. Alive. She should not have worn white. That was the first mad thought that crossed his mind, and not because the color was improper. Impropriety had become a small concern at a funeral where the dead woman was watching from the trees. She should not have worn white because it made her visible against the dark churchyard, a pale flame in the rain, the kind of thing even a careless man might notice if he turned his head at the wrong moment. But no one turned. No one except Nathaniel. Their eyes met across the grave. Evelyn did not lift a finger to her lips. She did not beg him with any gesture to keep silent. She simply held his gaze through the rain with a face so still it might have belonged to the woman everyone believed lay 6 feet from his boots. Then Jasper Ashbourne stepped forward, took a handful of damp earth, and let it fall onto the coffin with a soft, final sound.
Rest well, dear sister.
Evelyn's mouth trembled once. That small tremor, not the false coffin, not the false mourners, not even the impossible fact of her standing alive at her own burial, was what decided Nathaniel Vale. He turned his gaze back to the grave and said nothing. There are moments in a life when a person chooses a side before he has understood the war. It can happen quietly. No oath, no raised hand, no grand music behind it. Only a man in a wet churchyard looking away at exactly the right second, and a woman in white understanding that she has been spared. 3 days before her funeral, Evelyn Ashbourne had still been alive in the ordinary way. Not free, not safe, but alive in a manner the world would recognize. She woke that morning in the east room of Ravenshade Hall to the smell of extinguished coal smoke and laudanum she had not taken. The room was large, cold, and far too beautiful to be called a prison by anyone who had never slept inside it. Pale blue wallpaper climbed the walls in faded vines, heavy curtains shut out the moor. A silver tray sat on the table beside her bed, holding untouched broth, a small brown bottle and a spoon. Evelyn stared at the bottle first, then at the keyhole. The key was not in it.
Martha?
Her voice came out dry. She swallowed and tried again.
Martha, are you there?
No answer came from the corridor. Ravenshade Hall had many ways of being silent. There was the silence of old stone, the silence of servants trained not to hear family matters, and the silence that followed Helena Stroud's orders. Evelyn had learned the difference in the 2 years since her husband died. She pushed herself upright too quickly. The room tilted, her hand flew to the bedpost, and for a moment the carved oak under her palm was the only fixed thing in the world. She had not been ill the previous evening. She remembered tea. She remembered Jasper smiling as he poured it. That was enough. Evelyn threw back the coverlet, crossed the carpet on unsteady feet, and tried the door. Locked. She did not cry out. That had been the first lesson of Ravenshade. Crying out brought people who would later swear you had been hysterical. Knocking brought servants who would not meet your eyes. Weeping brought Helena with a physician's tone and a jailer's patience. So Evelyn did none of those things. She went to the writing desk. The top drawer had been searched. The second as well. Her seal was gone, her letters gone, her late father's pocket watch gone from the velvet-lined box where she had kept it since girlhood. Only the ink remained, and one sheet of paper folded beneath the blotter, missed because it looked like part of the desk's own worn surface. She sat, dipped the pen, and wrote with a hand that would not stop shaking.
Dr. Vale, if you receive this, do not come by the front road. Do not announce yourself, and do not believe them if they say I have taken ill.
She stopped there, listening. Footsteps moved below, a man's voice, Jasper's, then Helena's lower, sharper murmur. Evelyn bent over the page again.
I'm being kept in the East Room. They have taken my keys, my papers, and the watch. I believe they mean to have me declared unsound before the quarter sessions. If you ever owed my father kindness, I ask you to remember it now.
She sanded the ink, folded the sheet, and pressed it flat beneath her palm. Then the door unlocked. Evelyn slipped the letter beneath the cuff of her sleeve just as Helena Stroud entered with a smile that had never reached her eyes in all the years Evelyn had known her.
My dear, you are out of bed. I am also locked in my room. For your protection. From whom? From yourself, if necessary.
Jasper came in behind her, tall, fair, and smooth-faced, with the look of a man who had practiced concern before a mirror and found the angle that suited him best.
Evelyn, no one wishes to distress you.
Then give me back my keys.
You misplaced them.
And my letters?
Burned, I hope. Some of them were quite alarming.
The smallest change passed through Evelyn's face. Not fear, not yet. Calculation.
You read my letters. We were forced to, after last night. What happened last night?
Jasper looked at Helena, and that glance frightened Evelyn more than the locked door had. It was too quick, too satisfied. The glance of two people standing on a stage, waiting for their cue.
You do not remember?
I remember tea. Yes. Before the episode.
Evelyn said nothing.
You walked into the North Gallery in your nightdress. You accused Jasper of stealing from the estate. You said Sir Malcolm had spoken to you from the portrait. You frightened poor Martha half to death. That is a lie.
Is it?
Yes.
Then I suppose Martha lied. And Wilkes lied. And my aunt lied. And I lied. All of us together, for no reason at all.
He said it gently. That was the cruelty of it. A shout could be answered. Gentleness asked the listener to doubt herself for having heard violence in it. Evelyn looked from him to Helena, then to the little brown bottle on the tray.
What was in my tea? Grief, my dear. That is all.
Jasper sighed and came closer.
The solicitor arrives Friday. We had hoped to spare you embarrassment, but after last night it seems impossible to delay. Ravenshade cannot remain under the legal authority of a woman who speaks to portraits and accuses her family of theft.
It is not under my authority. It is mine.
The words came before she could soften them. Mine, not his, not theirs, mine. Something behind Jasper's eyes hardened.
For now.
The room seemed colder after that. Ravenshade Hall had belonged to Evelyn's father before it ever belonged to the Ashbournes. When Evelyn married Sir Malcolm Ashbourne at 23, the match had looked, from the outside, like elevation. The daughter of a prosperous but untitled mill owner marrying into an old family. A girl with money gaining a name. A ruined baronet gaining a fortune. People called it romance because people often call a bargain romance when the bride is young enough and the church flowers are expensive enough. Sir Malcolm had died 4 years later after a riding accident on the West Road, leaving Evelyn widowed, wealthy, and legally tangled in a marriage settlement so cleverly written that every Ashbourne in England seemed to believe Ravenshade was only waiting to return to them. But Evelyn's father had not been a fool. The house remained hers unless she died, remarried without trusteeship, or was declared mentally unfit to manage the estate. Jasper Ashbourne had spent 2 years pretending patience. That morning he stopped pretending.
You cannot do this.
My dear Evelyn, we have already begun.
Helena lifted the tray from the table and held out the spoon.
You should take your medicine. Dr. Fenwick says rest is essential.
Dr. Fenwick has not examined me.
He will, after he signs the preliminary statement.
I want Dr. Vale.
Jasper laughed once, softly, almost kindly.
Of course you do.
Evelyn's fingers tightened around the hidden letter beneath her sleeve.
But Dr. Vale is not family, and this is, regrettably, a family matter.
He turned toward the door.
Aunt Helena, see that she rests. I have business in the village.
He paused at the threshold and looked back.
Oh, and Evelyn, if you write any more dramatic little notes, do try not to hide them in the same places you used as a girl. Sentiment makes people predictable.
Evelyn's blood went still. Jasper smiled. He had not found the note under her sleeve. Not that note, but he had found others enough to know she might try. It closed behind him. Helena set the tray down.
You were always too clever for comfort.
And you were always too comfortable around other people's locks.
Sharpness will not help you now.
No, but it may keep me awake.
Helena studied her for a long moment, and something like annoyance passed over her controlled face.
Your father raised you poorly.
My father raised me to notice when wolves came indoors wearing family rings.
The slap was not hard enough to leave a mark. Helena was too careful for marks, but it turned Evelyn's face and made the hidden letter shift beneath her sleeve. For one terrible second, she thought it would fall. It did not. Helena leaned close.
You are not being destroyed, Evelyn. You are being managed. There is a difference, though I do not expect you to appreciate it.
Then she left, locked the door again, and took the tray with her. Evelyn remained in the middle of the room until the footsteps faded. Only then did she breathe. By late afternoon, she had a plan. It was not a good plan. Good plans require time, allies, and doors that open. Evelyn had one sheet of paper, one locked room, and a house full of people who had already agreed on what story they wished the world to hear. But she had been raised by a man who built mills beside rivers that flooded every winter. He had once told her that survival was rarely the art of stopping water. More often it was the art of giving water another path. So Evelyn gave herself another path. Martha came at dusk with clean linen and eyes red from crying she had no right to admit. Martha said, "Ma'am." The maid kept her head down.
Martha.
Martha said, "I am not to talk with you."
Then listen.
Martha said, "I cannot."
You can. You may choose not to, but you can.
Martha's hands tightened around the linen. Martha said, "They said you would say things."
I imagine they did.
Martha said, "They said you are not yourself."
Martha, look at me.
The girl did. She was 19, perhaps 20, with a round, frightened face and the soft hands of a housemaid not yet hardened by years of scrubbing other people's grief from their sheets. Evelyn remembered hiring her after Malcolm's death, remembered Martha's mother standing in the servants' yard, twisting her apron, grateful that her daughter would be in a respectable house. Respectable houses are often the most dangerous. They have curtains thick enough to swallow sound.
Do I seem not myself?
Martha said, I do not know what you seem, ma'am. I only know what they said.
And what did you see last night?
Martha's eyes filled again. Martha said, I saw Mr. Ashbourne carrying you from the North Gallery.
Was I speaking?
Martha said no.
Walking?
Martha said no.
Awake?
Martha looked down. Martha said, no, ma'am. There it was, a crack in the wall.
I need you to take a letter.
Martha said, I cannot.
To Dr. Vale.
Martha said, they will send me off without a character.
They may send you off anyway, once they have finished using you.
It was a cruel thing to say. It was also true. Evelyn hated herself for needing both. Martha shook her head, but not as firmly this time. Martha asked, why him? Evelyn looked toward the window, where rain gathered on the glass and turned the moor beyond into a blur of gray.
Because he knew my father before this house learned to hate me?
That was not the whole answer. The whole answer had begun 6 years earlier, on an autumn evening at a harvest supper, when Nathaniel Vale was still newly returned from London, too serious for the dancing and too poor to be courted by ambitious mothers. Evelyn had been 23 and newly engaged to Sir Malcolm, wearing a blue ribbon at her throat and a smile everyone praised for its sweetness because no one looked closely enough to see how tired it was. Nathaniel had looked. He had not said anything improper. Nathaniel Vale never did. He had simply stepped aside when she came through a crowded doorway and said, low enough that only she could hear him,
If you need air, the terrace door is unlatched.
She had not gone. She had married Malcolm 3 weeks later, but she had remembered the door. People do remember the person who notices they cannot breathe. In the East Room 6 years and 1 dead husband later, Evelyn took the folded letter from her sleeve and pressed it into Martha's hand.
Hide it in the laundry basket, not your pocket. If Wilkes asks, you are taking sheets to the boil room. From there, send Tom Bell with it. He runs errands for the surgery, does he not?
Martha said, sometimes.
Pay him with the garnet pin in my dressing case.
Martha said, they took your jewels. Evelyn went still. Of course they had. Then she reached behind her neck, beneath the loose collar of her mourning wrapper, and unclasped the thin gold chain she had worn since childhood. Her father's wedding ring hung from it, plain and warm from her skin. She held it for 1 moment too long.
Give him this.
Martha said, ma'am, no.
Give it to him.
Martha stared at the ring and something in the girl's face changed. Not courage, exactly. Courage is too grand a word for the small acts by which most lives are saved. It was decency under pressure. A quieter thing, but often stronger. Martha said, I will try.
Trying may be enough.
Martha hid the letter inside the folded linen and left without another word. Evelyn did not sleep that night. Neither did Nathaniel Vale. The letter reached him at 9:30, delivered by a boy with wet hair, muddy boots, and a gold ring clenched so tightly in his fist that Nathaniel had to unfold the child's fingers one by one to retrieve it. Tom said, Lady said you would know what it meant. Nathaniel knew the ring before he read the note. Arthur Whitcomb had worn it for 32 years through prosperity, scandal, widowhood, and the long illness that finally took him in the back room of the mill office with his daughter on one side and Nathaniel on the other. Arthur had been the first man in Ravenshade parish to call Nathaniel doctor without smiling at his age. He had paid his bills on time, argued over every tonic, and once told him with the bluntness of a dying man that his daughter had married into a house full of polished knives. Nathaniel broke the seal. By the time he finished reading, his face had lost all expression. Mrs. Bell asked, Bad news, doctor. Mrs. Bell, his housekeeper, waited in the surgery doorway with a lamp and the fixed calm of a woman who had seen enough blood, births, deaths, and lies to understand that bad news rarely announced itself politely.
Worse than bad.
Mrs. Bell asked, Shall I fetch your coat?
No. Fetch the old ledger from the top cabinet, the one Mr. Whitcomb left with me.
Mrs. Bell asked. You kept that?
He asked me to.
Mrs. Bell said, he is 5 years buried.
Some men prepare for trouble before the rest of us are willing to name it.
Mrs. Bell did not ask another question. That was one of the reasons Nathaniel valued her beyond wages. She knew when curiosity was useful and when it was only vanity wearing a bonnet. Within 10 minutes, the ledger lay open on his desk. It was not a medical ledger. It was Arthur Whitcomb's private account of Ravenshade Hall, loans made to Sir Malcolm, repairs paid from Evelyn's dowry, transfers Jasper Ashbourne had witnessed but never funded, letters copied in a neat industrial hand. Not enough, perhaps, to settle ownership in a court by itself, but enough to make any honest solicitor ask questions Jasper would dislike answering. Nathaniel turned the pages until he found the note Arthur had written on the inside cover. If Evelyn is ever pressed to surrender the estate, show this first to Vale, then to Mr. Harbury in York. Trust neither Ashbourne nor their aunt. Nathaniel closed the book. Outside, rain struck the surgery windows. In the little room beyond, a clock ticked with the patient malice of time moving whether a man was ready or not. Mrs. Bell asked, Doctor?
Saddle the mare?
Mrs. Bell asked, in this weather?
Especially in this weather.
He should have gone to the magistrate. He should have woken the vicar, gathered witnesses, made a proper complaint in a proper tone before proper men who would take proper notes and arrive too late. Instead, Nathaniel Vale put Arthur Whitcomb's ledger inside his medical bag, buttoned his coat to the throat, and rode for Ravenshade Hall by the back road. The back road was not a road so much as an old cart path cutting over the lower moor, half swallowed by heather used by shepherds, poachers, and anyone else with reason to avoid the front gates. Nathaniel had not taken it in years. Evelyn had mentioned it once. Not to him, not directly. At that same harvest supper, 6 years ago, she had stood near her father while Sir Malcolm boasted of improving the estate drive, and she had said, with the faintest edge beneath her politeness,
The back road has always been kinder to people who do not wish to be seen.
Nathaniel had remembered that too. A man can spend years telling himself a woman means nothing to him because she belongs to another life, another name, another set of vows. Then one wet night he may find himself riding through heather with her father's ring in his pocket and understand that denial, however disciplined, is not the same as indifference. He reached Ravenshade near midnight. No lamps burned in the front rooms. One light showed in the east wing, Evelyn's room. Nathaniel left the mare in the shelter of the old stable wall and crossed the kitchen yard on foot. The servants' entrance was bolted. The scullery window, however, had the familiar weakness of old houses: paint, age, and neglect where appearance mattered less. He had just eased it open when a voice behind him said his name. Martha said, "Dr. Vale." He turned. Martha stood under the archway with a shawl pulled over her hair and terror plain on her face.
Martha?
Martha said, "You should not have come."
No.
He climbed through the scullery window anyway, landing with more noise than dignity beside a bucket of cold ashes.
But I have.
Martha shut the window behind him, trembling. Martha said, "They are sending her away tomorrow."
Where?
Martha said, "Not an asylum. Not yet. Mrs. Stroud said that would look too sudden. They mean to take her to Grayford Lodge first, a private house. Dr. Fenwick signed something there, then Mr. Jasper says no one can interfere." Nathaniel's jaw tightened.
Where's Mr. Ashbourne now?
Martha said, "In the library, with Mr. Wilkes, drinking."
And Mrs. Stroud?
Martha said, "Outside her door."
Evelyn's?
Martha said, "Yes." He looked toward the dark servants' passage.
Take me there?
Martha said, "She will dismiss me if she sees me."
Then do not be seen.
Martha gave a strange, frightened little laugh, as if the instruction were impossible, and exactly what she had been doing all her life. They moved through the back passages of Ravenshade Hall without a candle. Nathaniel knew the house less by sight than by smell and sound. Damp stone, old polish, banked fires, the faint metallic breath of rainwater leaking somewhere inside the walls. The place had always struck him as too large for happiness. Now it seemed built deliberately to hide distress. At the turn toward the east stair, Martha stopped. Martha said, "If they ask, I never brought you."
You were never here.
Martha asked, "And if they dismiss me?"
Come to the surgery. Mrs. Bell will find you work until I can do better.
Martha nodded once, then vanished into the dark. Nathaniel climbed the east stair alone. At the top, lamplight spilled beneath a closed door. Helena Stroud sat outside Evelyn's room in a straight-back chair, embroidery in her lap, as composed as if guarding a bedroom door at midnight were the most natural occupation in the world. She looked up.
Dr. Vale,
Mrs. Stroud,
this is an unexpected hour for a call.
illness keeps poor manners.
Lady Ashbourne is resting.
Then I will examine her quietly.
Dr. Fenwick has been engaged.
Dr. Fenwick is not here.
Nor were you invited.
Nathaniel stopped 3 paces from her chair. He did not raise his voice. He rarely did, which made servants trust him and fools underestimate him.
Mrs. Stroud, I received a letter tonight from Lady Ashbourne requesting medical attendance.
Impossible.
Inconvenient, certainly.
Helena's needle remained poised above the cloth.
My niece is unwell. She writes many things she does not mean.
Then there's no harm in letting me judge the state of her mind myself.
On the contrary, there is every harm in indulging delusion.
Nathaniel looked at the locked door, then back at her.
Open it.
No.
The single word changed the air between them. Helena seemed to realize it. Her mouth softened at once.
Doctor, you are a respected man. I know you mean well, but this family has suffered enough public embarrassment.
Has Lady Ashbourne eaten today?
That is not your concern.
Has she been given laudanum?
I beg your pardon.
Has she been examined by any physician who did not first receive instruction from Mr. Ashbourne?
You forget your place.
Nathaniel took 1 step closer.
No, Mrs. Stroud, I remember it exactly.
He reached into his coat and removed Arthur Whitcomb's ring. Helena saw it and went very still.
Her father placed certain matters in my care before his death. I have been slow in attending to them. That is my failing. But if you do not open that door now, I will wake the vicar, the magistrate, and every tenant on this estate before sunrise, and I will do it with enough paper in my hand to make secrecy impossible for your family by breakfast.
Helena's face did not change much. Women of her sort trained early in the art of revealing nothing, but her fingers tightened around the embroidery hoop until the cloth pulled crooked.
You have no idea what she is capable of.
I intend to ask her.
For a moment, neither moved. Then Helena stood, took the key from the chain at her waist, and opened the door. Evelyn was standing on the other side. Not in bed, not sedated, not broken, stunning. Her hair was unpinned, her face pale, and her fingers gripped the back of a chair as if pride alone could hold her upright. But her eyes were clear. Nathaniel forgot, for 1 dangerous second, every proper sentence he had prepared.
Dr. Vale.
Lady Ashbourne.
The formality was absurd. It was also the only thing steady enough to stand on.
As you can see, she is perfectly well enough to be difficult.
And you are perfectly cruel enough to call that medicine.
Nathaniel stepped into the room. Helena moved as if to follow.
Outside.
I am her aunt.
Outside.
This time he did not soften the word. Helena looked from him to Evelyn, and something passed through her expression then. Not defeat. Calculation postponed.
5 minutes.
As long as the examination requires.
Helena left. Nathaniel shut the door. The click of it closing was small, but Evelyn flinched.
I'm sorry.
For closing it?
For not coming sooner.
She saw him then, truly saw him, and the years between them seemed to gather in the quiet room. The harvest supper, the terrace door, her wedding, her father's illness, Malcolm's funeral. All the times Nathaniel had passed her in church or on the village road and said only what courtesy permitted while something unnamed stayed carefully buried beneath it.
I did not ask sooner.
You should not have had to ask.
The answer unsettled her. Evelyn Ashbourne was prepared for accusation, disbelief, management, pity. She was not prepared for responsibility directed anywhere but at herself. He set his medical bag on the table.
Have you taken any of what they gave you?
Not willingly.
How much?
Tea last night. Perhaps something in the broth this morning. I poured the rest into the fern.
Good.
For me or the fern?
The corner of his mouth moved before he could stop it.
Both, I hope.
It was the smallest possible humor, dry as old paper, and wholly out of place. For that reason, perhaps, it nearly undid her. Evelyn looked away quickly, but not before he saw the shine rise in her eyes. Nathaniel opened his bag with unnecessary care.
May I take your pulse?
She extended her wrist. He touched 2 fingers to the inside of it. There are touches that mean nothing because the world permits them. A physician's hand at a patient's wrist, a gentleman helping a lady into a carriage, a dance partner's palm at the proper distance from a waist. Society allows such things because it believes rules can prevent the heart from noticing what the skin already knows. Evelyn noticed. So did Nathaniel. Her pulse was too fast, but not from fever. His fingers remained perfectly professional. His thoughts did not. He released her wrist first.
You are drugged, frightened, and exhausted. You are not mad.
Can you put that in Latin? It may sound more official.
If necessary.
It will be necessary.
If you are listening far from this cold Yorkshire rain, tell me where you are, and whether the air where you live is cold, warm, or pleasantly mild. I like knowing how far these stories travel. His attention settled fully on her. The faint humor left her face.
They are sending me to Grayford Lodge tomorrow.
Martha told me.
If I go there, I do not come back as myself.
The sentence was calm. That made it worse. Panic would have been easier to comfort. Calm meant she had already measured the shape of the trap.
Then you will not go there.
You say that as if saying it builds a road.
Sometimes it begins one.
Dr. Vale.
Nathaniel.
The name landed between them with more force than he had intended. He should not have offered it. Not in her bedroom, not at midnight, not while she stood with her life being dismantled one locked door at a time. But Evelyn did not rebuke him.
Nathaniel.
She said it carefully, as if testing whether the world would punish her for using it. Outside the room, a floorboard creaked. Both of them turned toward the sound.
Aunt Helena?
Jasper's voice came from the corridor below. Climbing the stairs, Evelyn's face changed.
He cannot find you here.
He will.
Then he will say things about you. About me.
I know what he will say.
No. You do not.
She crossed the room too quickly. Her balance failed. Nathaniel caught her by the elbow. It was not an embrace. It was not even close. But the room narrowed around the place where his hand steadied her and her fingers closed, for one unguarded instant, around his sleeve. Fear had brought them close. Something else made neither of them move away at once.
Aunt Helena, why is this door shut?
Evelyn whispered.
If he ruins your name with mine, you will lose patience. Standing. Everything.
Evelyn.
Let me say I called you in a fit. Let me make it my fault.
His gaze dropped to her fingers closed around his sleeve.
No.
You do not understand how quickly people believe the worst of a woman.
I'm beginning to understand how long they have counted on it.
The key turned. Evelyn stepped back. Nathaniel turned toward the door with Arthur Whitcomb's ledger in his bag. Evelyn's pulse still remembered beneath his fingers, and the first full knowledge that he had not come to Ravenshade Hall merely to examine a patient. He had come to help a woman disappear before her family could bury her alive in a story of their own making. And by morning, if he failed, the whole county would know exactly which lie Jasper Ashbourne intended to tell. Jasper entered with Helena at his shoulder and Wilkes the steward 2 steps behind him, a man whose loyalty had always followed the person most likely to sign his wages.
Dr. Vale, in my sister's bedroom at midnight.
Attending a patient who requested me.
A patient whose condition includes wild accusations and improper invitations, it seems.
I sent for him because you locked me in.
For your safety.
You keep using that word as if it belongs to you?
Jasper turned to her then, and his gentle mask slipped just far enough for Nathaniel to see the man beneath it. Not a fool, not a simple villain from a cheap pamphlet, something colder than both. A man who had learned that the world would give him more credit for calmness than it gave a woman for truth.
Doctor, I will offer you the kindness of leaving now, quietly. You were summoned under false pretenses by a distressed lady. No one need speak of it again.
That is generous.
It is wise.
Unfortunately, I have never been good at confusing the two.
Nathaniel opened his bag and drew out Arthur Whitcomb's ledger. Jasper's gaze moved to it at once. That was the first mistake he made.
Lady Ashbourne's father left documents in my care. I have delayed reviewing them because I did not expect his daughter to be locked in an east room and drugged under a false claim of illness.
That is slander.
Then it should not trouble you when I place it before Mr. Harbury in York tomorrow.
Wilkes said, "Mr. Harbury is dead, sir." The steward regretted speaking the moment the words left him. Nathaniel turned slowly.
Dead?
Jasper smiled, just a little.
You see, Doctor, even old papers age badly. Mr. Harbury died last winter. His practice was purchased by Mr. Keene, who happens to be the solicitor expected here tomorrow. You may of course show him whatever sentimental accounts Mr. Whitcomb left behind.
Evelyn's face lost what color it had. The road Nathaniel had thought he was building narrowed under his feet.
Now leave.
No.
Then understand the position you have chosen. A village doctor, unmarried, discovered in the private room of a widow whose mind has been questioned by her household. A woman who may soon require formal care. If you stand too close to her, Doctor, the stain will not stop at her hem.
Nathaniel closed the ledger.
You are counting on shame to do what evidence cannot.
I am counting on society to behave as it always has.
The terrible thing was that he was probably right. Evelyn stepped forward.
Nathaniel, go.
He faced her. She was pale, frightened, and more composed than anyone in that room deserved.
Please.
The please did what Jasper's threat could not. It moved him. Not away from her. Never that. It moved him to understand that rescuing Evelyn in front of Jasper would only give Jasper the scandal he needed. A locked door could be forced. A reputation, once ruined, could not be repaired by force at all.
Very well.
Jasper's smile sharpened.
I will go tonight.
Nathaniel turned to Evelyn, bowed with perfect public distance, and said the only thing he could safely say while 3 enemies listened.
Lady Ashbourne, I advise rest, plain food, no more sedative drafts, and open air before noon.
Her eyes changed at the last words. Open air before noon. The back terrace, the old yew path, the gardener's gate, the route beyond the church.
Thank you, Doctor.
Helena heard nothing but politeness. Jasper heard defeat. Evelyn heard a road. Nathaniel left Ravenshade Hall by the front door because Jasper insisted on the insult of seeing him out like an unwelcome caller. Rain had thinned to mist. The drive shone under the lanterns. Behind him, high in the east wing, Evelyn's window remained lit. He mounted the mare, rode as far as the first bend, and then took the ditch path down toward the ruined chapel. There he waited. Dawn came in degrees, gray first, then silver along the wet stone of the old chapel wall. Nathaniel waited by the ruined chapel until the stable bell rang once from Ravenshade, exactly as Martha had promised it would if Evelyn reached the gardener's gate alive. He found her there with a veil pinned low, a dark cloak over her shoulders, and Martha behind her carrying a basket of linen as if laundry could explain treason.
We have perhaps 10 minutes.
To go where?
The vicarage. Mrs. Annesley has papers your father left with her, and she is never liked Jasper well enough to fear him properly.
They crossed the yew path under a sky the color of pewter. At the churchyard wall, Evelyn slipped on the wet stile, and Nathaniel caught her by the waist for no longer than safety required, and longer than either of them could pretend not to. Feel.
I can manage.
I know.
Then let go.
I'm trying to.
For one suspended instant, with Jasper's voice carrying faintly somewhere behind the trees, fear brought them close and something warmer made the distance difficult to recover. Then Martha stumbled through the stile, and the moment broke. Mrs. Annesley opened the vicarage kitchen door before Nathaniel could knock. She took one look at Evelyn's hidden face and stepped aside. Mrs. Annesley said, "In." I wondered when he would try it. She was a small woman with silver hair, plain sleeves rolled above the wrist, and the moral expression of someone who had spent 30 years hearing men confuse caution with virtue. From a locked drawer, she removed the packet Arthur Whitcomb had left in her care, a copy of a codicil, a letter in his square hand, and a private clause in the settlement. Mrs. Annesley said, "If any Ashbourne physician declares Evelyn unfit, trusteeship passes to the parish until an independent hearing in York. The vicar, Mr. Lowry, and Dr. Vale."
I was not told.
Mrs. Annesley said, "Arthur said you would refuse if told early."
Then Jasper cannot take Ravenshade by declaring me mad.
Mrs. Annesley said, "Not legally."
But publicly?
No one answered, because publicly was where Jasper was strongest. A woman fleeing her own house with a village doctor at her side would be no heroine by breakfast. She would be a scandal. The first knock struck the kitchen door hard enough to shake the latch.
Mrs. Annesley, I know she is in there.
Nathaniel drew Evelyn into the narrow pantry off the kitchen. It smelled of apples, flour, and cold stone. Shelves pressed close on both sides. She was close enough for her shoulder to brush his coat, and when Jasper's boots entered the kitchen, her fingers found Nathaniel's in the dark. This time there was no medical excuse, no stumble, no rain-slick stone, only fear, closeness, and choice. Nathaniel held on.
She is unwell. She imagines persecution because grief has damaged her reason.
Mrs. Annesley said, "Grief does many things. It does not usually forge legal documents." Jasper moved toward the pantry door, but the vicar arrived from the hall before he could open it, timid in sermons and surprisingly firm in kitchens. The vicar said, "Mr. Ashbourne, remove your hand from my wife's door." By noon, a rider had been sent to York. The codicil had been copied, and Martha had given her first account. For 2 hours there was hope. Then Martha staggered back from Ravenshade with mud on her hem and a new terror in her face. Martha said, "They took a body from Greyford Lodge. A pauper woman from the infirmary, they said, with no family to ask questions. Mr. Jasper said there had to be a funeral by Monday, and the coffin would stay closed because of fever." The room altered around the words.
They mean to bury someone under my name.
Not if enough people see you before then.
3 witnesses against a family name and a death certificate?
Nathaniel had no answer ready, and Evelyn did not mistake silence for comfort.
No. If the county wants a funeral, it shall have one. Let them bury the coffin. Let every person in Ravenshade watch Jasper perform his grief. Then I will appear with the codicil, the ledger, Martha's testimony, and Dr. Fenwick's part in this exposed.
Absolutely not.
You do not command me.
No, I am begging you.
The word changed the room more than command would have. Evelyn understood the fear beneath his refusal, not weakness, but the cost of caring.
Then do not stop it. Witness it.
Nathaniel looked at the woman who had been locked in a room. Drugged, hunted, and still had the nerve to design her own return from the dead. It terrified him. It also made something in him yield.
If we do this, we do it with witnesses placed before Jasper can reach you, the papers in Mrs. Annesley's hands, and a road out.
Yes.
And you will not go near that grave until I can see both Jasper's hands.
That sounds very much like command.
It is fear wearing a hat.
She almost smiled.
I know.
By Monday morning, Ravenshade Parish had gathered for a funeral it did not understand. The coffin stood closed in the church, polished dark and sealed under the excuse of fever. Jasper received condolences in a black coat. Helena sat in the front pew with a face arranged into sorrow. Dr. Fenwick, a small, nervous man with spectacles that would not stay fixed on his nose, kept wiping his palms on a handkerchief and avoiding Nathaniel's eyes. Nathaniel waited in the fourth row. Mrs. Annesley kept her place by the side door. The vicar had the codicil in his Bible. Martha waited in the vestry, shaking but present. Evelyn was nowhere to be seen. That was the worst of it. Plans are handsome things on paper. In the cold breath of a church, while a coffin waits and enemies stand within reach, they feel much thinner. The service began. The vicar recited, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in the sight of God." Nathaniel heard almost none of it. He watched Jasper. Jasper watched the congregation. Helena watched Nathaniel. The church smelled of wet wool, beeswax, and lilies. Evelyn had hated lilies. Nathaniel remembered that suddenly and with such useless force that it nearly broke his composure. She had said once they smelled like rooms where no one was allowed to tell the truth. At the grave, the rain began again. Jasper took his place near the open earth. The coffin was lowered. A murmur moved through the crowd, the modest rustle of people grateful to be near the end of sadness that did not cost them much. The vicar recited, "Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust." Jasper stepped forward with his handful of soil.
Rest well, dear sister.
He said it beautifully. Then he looked up. Beyond the church wall, beyond the leaning stones and the wet branches of the yews, Evelyn stood in white. For 1 second, the whole world seemed to stop with him. Nathaniel saw the color leave Jasper's face, saw Helena's hand close around the iron fence, saw Dr. Fenwick make a sound like a man who had just discovered that paper lies badly when flesh walks into the rain. Evelyn came through the gate. She had chosen the white dress deliberately, not bridal, not festive, white as bone china, white as a sheet held to a window, white as the lie they had tried to wrap around her. No one spoke. Then the village erupted. A woman called out, "Lady Ashbourne." A man called out, "Mercy on us."
Stay back from her.
Jasper recovered first. Nathaniel had expected that.
This is not Lady Ashbourne.
The sentence fell hard and clean.
This is an impostor.
Some people gasped, others leaned closer because scandal, like fire, draws the cold.
My sister lies in that coffin.
Then open it.
The words carried through the rain. Jasper stared at her.
If I am in it, open it.
That was when Nathaniel moved. Not to place himself in front of her, he remembered her warning. Witness it. So he took his place beside her instead.
I'm Doctor Nathaniel Vale. I examined Lady Ashbourne 3 nights ago. This is Lady Evelyn Ashbourne, living competent and under threat from the household that now asks you to distrust your eyes.
Shame on you.
I have had enough of shame being used as furniture in this family.
The vicar opened his Bible. The vicar said, "I hold here a codicil from Arthur Whitcomb regarding the trusteeship of Ravenshade Hall."
This is outrageous.
Mrs. Annesley said, "It is rather, but not in the direction you mean." Martha came from the vestry door then, pale as milk, but walking. Martha said, "I saw them bring the other woman." Jasper turned on her.
You foolish girl.
Martha said, "I saw them from Greyford Lodge. Mrs. Stroud paid Wilkes to keep the servants away. Dr. Fenwick signed before he saw the coffin closed." Dr. Fenwick said, "I was told the fever made viewing unsafe."
By whom?
Dr. Fenwick looked at Jasper. That was enough. It did not become justice all at once. Life rarely has the neatness cheap stories give it. There was shouting, confusion. The vicar calling for order and receiving very little. Jasper insisting on fraud. Helena speaking of hysteria. Dr. Fenwick trying to become invisible and failing because guilt makes poor camouflage. Through it all, Evelyn remained still. Nathaniel did not touch her, not until Jasper stepped toward her.
You ungrateful little fool.
Nathaniel's walking stick came down between them with a crack against the wet stone path.
No closer.
Jasper faced him with open hatred then.
You think this makes her yours?
The words were meant to soil the air. Nathaniel felt Evelyn go still beside him.
No.
He said it clearly for every person to hear.
Nothing makes her mine. That appears to be the point you keep failing to grasp.
Evelyn turned her face toward him. In the rain in the churchyard, beside the open grave that was supposed to hold her name, something passed between them that no witness could put into words afterward. Gratitude was too small. Love, perhaps, was too large for that exact second. But recognition was close. A person who sees you as free before the world allows it has already changed the weather of your life. The magistrate arrived by late afternoon, not as promptly as justice should, but more promptly than Jasper expected. Mrs. Annesley had sent the rider to a man whose sister once owed her safe childbirth and remembered debts better than gentlemen remembered promises. The coffin was opened in the presence of witnesses. The woman inside was not Evelyn. Her name, once recovered through the workhouse infirmary, was Clara Meach. She was given her own grave 3 days later, with her own name spoken aloud, because even the poor deserve the dignity of not being used as punctuation in someone else's lie. Jasper Ashbourne was not dragged away in chains in front of the church, though some in the village would later claim he had been, because people enjoy improving a story once they are safely outside its danger. He was taken quietly for questioning. His accounts seized, his letters searched. Helena Stroud left Ravenshade under the supervision of a cousin who had no affection for her and less patience. Dr. Fenwick surrendered his papers and his confidence at roughly the same pace. As for Evelyn, she did not return to Ravenshade Hall that night. She went to the vicarage. Nathaniel did not follow her inside. He had done enough following, enough guarding, enough standing beside, so he remained in the rain by the gate, hat in hand, while Mrs. Annesley took Evelyn's cloak and Martha wept into a tea towel from sheer exhaustion. Evelyn paused at the doorway.
You're leaving?
I'm going to the surgery.
There are patients.
There are always patients.
And if I ask you to stay?
The question was quiet. It was also the bravest thing she had said all day. Nathaniel's fingers tightened around his hat brim.
Then I would want to, which is why I should not.
Evelyn absorbed that, not as rejection. She was too intelligent for that, and too tired to waste pain where none was intended.
Because of the village.
Because you have spent years with people deciding what your choices mean before you have made them. I will not add myself to that list.
Rain slid from the vicarage eaves between them.
Nathaniel.
Yes.
I am very tired of being grateful instead of happy.
He met her eyes then, and every careful thing in him nearly came undone.
Then rest first.
And afterward?
Afterward, if you still wish to ask me to stay, I will try to be less noble about refusing.
She laughed. This time the sound was small, broken, and real. He bowed and left before tenderness could become another kind of pressure. 2 weeks passed before Evelyn returned to Ravenshade Hall. Not because the law required it. The law, once dragged into daylight, had discovered a sudden appetite for order. The trusteeship clause held. The false declaration collapsed. Jasper's creditors emerged from the hedgerows like crows after harvest. Men who had not believed Evelyn in whispers were very eager to believe ledgers in ink. No. Evelyn delayed because a house can belong to you and still frighten you. On the first day she went back, Nathaniel arrived not as rescuer, not as physician, but as one of 3 trustees, carrying papers and wearing the expression of a man who would rather treat an outbreak of fever than discuss estate accounts.
You look condemned.
I have seen the ledgers.
Worse than fever?
Fever at least has the courtesy to declare itself honestly.
They opened the east room first. The locks were removed before noon. Helena's chair was taken from the corridor and left in the servants' yard, where rain did what fire would have made too dramatic. In the library, they found the stolen letters under a false bottom in Sir Malcolm's old campaign chest. Evelyn read one from Jasper to Helena. discussing how long a widow might break if isolated properly. Nathaniel wanted to take it away and spare her the last lines. He did not. Freedom includes the right to know what was done to you.
I keep waiting to feel triumphant.
Do you?
No.
Good. Triumph is often shock wearing better clothes. Peace takes longer.
And happiness?
Longer still, I suspect.
She looked toward the back road beyond the rain-streaked window.
When Ravenshade is mine without 3 men signing papers around me, will you still come by that road?
If you ask me to...
I am asking now.
He should have answered lightly. He did not.
Then yes.
Spring came late to Yorkshire that year. Nathaniel came by the back road every Thursday, then on certain Tuesdays when the weather was bad enough to justify concern and not quite bad enough to fool either of them. They walked the terraces, argued over repairs, read Arthur Whitcomb's notes by the library fire, and learned how to speak without fear standing in the corner of every room. Once, in April, they walked to the churchyard. Evelyn stopped before the grave that had nearly carried her name and read the newer stone beside it, Clara Meach, beloved of God, if not sufficiently known by men.
2 women were almost erased here. One of us had the good fortune to walk away.
You did more than walk. You came back.
Her gaze moved toward the wall where she had waited in white.
I'm tired of being brave in churchyards.
Then let us leave this one.
She offered her hand, and he took it. At the gate, Evelyn stopped.
You once told me the terrace door was unlatched.
I remember.
I loved you a little for that door before I knew what love was supposed to ask of me.
Nathaniel went very still. Evelyn looked frightened after she said it, but not sorry.
Evelyn, I have loved you badly for years, silently, proudly, with too much respect for vows that did not protect you.
And now?
Now I would like to love you better, if you allow it.
She touched his cheek with gloved fingers, the boldest thing either of them had done in daylight.
I allow very little these days without considering it first.
Sensible.
But yes.
The kiss was brief, no more than a promise allowed to touch the air between them. But Evelyn closed her eyes as if something guarded too long had finally been given permission to set down its weapon. They married in September after Ravenshade was secure in her name. Evelyn wore blue. Not white, never white again, she said, unless the laundry required it. Years later, people in Ravenshade still told the story of the widow who wore white to her own funeral. They told it badly, of course. Stories get polished by people who were not there. Some made Nathaniel braver than he felt. Some made Evelyn more fragile than she was. Some gave Jasper a dramatic confession he never offered, because villains in memory are often more cooperative than villains in life. The truth was quieter and better. A woman was trapped inside a story built to erase her. A man saw her before the world was ready to believe she was there. And when the grave opened for a name that was not yet done living, she walked back through rain and took it from them. There are many ways to be buried before death, in a marriage, in a rumor, in a family's version of events, in the silence polite people keep because speaking would make the room uncomfortable. Coming back from that kind of grave is rarely clean. It takes witnesses. It takes proof. It takes one person sometimes who will stand beside you without claiming to own the life he helped save. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what you think is harder, escaping the lie others tell about you, or learning to live after the lie is gone. And thank you for listening this far. Somewhere, in some old house with a locked door and a cold window, a person may still be waiting for the sound of someone choosing to believe them.